So, I mean, Cats and I do a Flat Earthers weekly on our channel. What do you think of the Flat Earth gang?
I'm almost like sad and disappointed in them. That makes me sound like a parent, like I'm disappointed, doesn't it? But like, you must have seen the Netflix documentary.
Yes,
on Flat Earthers,
we've seen that.
And I remember watching that and being like, oh, come on, you're so nearly there. You can see them almost following the scientific process in designing experiments and coming up with a hypothesis to test. It's just that moment of when the evidence shows them something that doesn't align with their worldview and with their emotions that are tied to this hypothesis, that they don't change, their worldview. And it's that thing that is the missing bit, right? In science, you have to be almost detached, which is difficult because when you do spend your life, studying something specific, but you have to follow the scientific process. And that point is always looking at what the evidence shows you. And if the evidence is against your hypothesis, you have to redefine your hypothesis. That's the basics of science. It's how science moves forward. And you can see them registering the evidence, but not doing that last step. And I just kind of think, well, what happened that you became so attached to this idea that you're not willing to do that? And like, what could you have done in science otherwise? You know what I mean? If you have this mind that can design these crazy experiments to test this, what else could you have done? That's why I'm disappointed in it.
Yeah. Katz always says that they do the experiments and then they come up with their own physics laws to explain them, don't they? What's the one?
The laws that they come up with are unbelievable. Some of the things that my favourite is when they'll film a boat going over the horizon.
That's it,
and then invent something called compression or the ether band, which is some optical effect that nobody in the universe understands, but it's what causes boats to disappear bottom up as they go over the horizon. And I wish I was joking with that. I wish I was joking, but I'm not. It's amazing.
Yeah. What gets me though is that, like, I know it sort of stems from this, like, when I look at the Earth, it looks flat, and it's like I only believe what my eyes see, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's what makes them question it in the first place. But I'm like, why don't they question, like, the human body is made of molecules and atoms, that you can't see those. All you see is sort of a solid object. So I don't understand why it's specifically flat Earth and not like any other thing that you can't see. The fact that water is made of H2O.
Yeah. Well, hey,
do you know what I mean? It's like, where does this come from?
You say that, but there is a conspiracy that one of the first things that Cats tackled was that water was not made of H2O. What is it they said?
God. I can't believe that.
It was water was an element.
An element, that's it.
Even given a name, aqueum.
That's it.
Aqueum. Where does that even stem from?
Oh dear. So, there's a conspiracy in everything. There really is.
No, the funny thing is that, like, I remember a couple of years back when I used to work at the University of Nottingham with Mike Merrifield and people like that from the 60 Symbols, people might know him from. I remember we had a great chat one lunchtime, and he was saying, I've been called up by a BBC radio station this morning asking me to go on, because they have to be impartial. They didn't just get him to comment on whatever story it was. They also got a flat earther on. And he basically just was like, I had to spend half an hour just replying to this BBC producer. I think it was BBC. Maybe I'm throwing them under the bus here, but this BBC producer saying, like, I will not legitimize this as a debate. You do not have to be impartial to something that has been known for 4,000 years. Like, and it's just crazy that you get to that level and you even have to explain it to someone who should know better, but that's the point that you're in. And you constantly get this sort of pushback from the flat earther community, if they want to call themselves, about being like, oh, scientists won't debate with us. And it's because it's not a debate. Why would we waste our time? It'd be like, us having a debate about whether the sun will rise. Like, what's the point? It's going to rise.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time.
Well, I mean, these guys do, some of the debunkers do debates with the flat earthers, and it's always an absolute annihilation, and they can never accept a loss, can they, Cats? When they get beaten in these debates.
They're incredible to watch.
And sometimes they think they've won, don't they? Sometimes they genuinely think they've won the debate. when it's clear that they were trounced.
Well, you can present to them. I mean, my favourite thing at the minute is the Eotvos effect. You can present to them, real measurable things to show us, rotation, etc. And it doesn't matter what you tell them, because you've told them over a computer screen, and maybe you've shown them a diagram. All their take-home message from that is, you've just shown me a diagram. Yeah. So therefore, that's not proof. It's only a diagram. Yeah. It's only words over a screen. You're not showing me anything and thinking, why are we having the conversation?
I have the best one actually. I remember it was right as I started my PhD, and I was like, I'm gonna maybe engage one and see what happens. Yeah. But I remember them asking, like, they were like, I want to see a video of your Earth that's supposedly round, like rotating in space. And I was like, okay, here's a time lapse from the Discover satellite, which is in one of the Lagrangian points between the Sun and Earth. It's constantly pointing at Earth, and there you can see it's rotating. He's like, I don't want a time lapse, I want a movie. And I'm like, well, they're kind of the same thing. Yeah. And he was like, no, a time lapse is just images played in quick succession. And I was like, what do you think a movie is?
I don't think it would have mattered. They would have cried fake. They would have cried fake. Whatever you show them, they'll cry fake. Yeah. CGI fake. There's nothing you can show them. Yeah. Short of, exactly. I would even suggest that if you took them up into space, that they would argue that the curve in their helmet is causing the Earth to be curved. It wouldn't surprise me at all.